So Fallout 76 seems to have come under some more or less than desirable news. It seems like Bethesda has had some misleading marketing around the game. I actually have a personal story with the Power Armor Edition that is not that great. There's actually a bunch of additional news around the refund policy and seemingly how Bethesda is responding to them. But before we jump into all of that, I do want to share a message from today's sponsor, and that's going to be Dollar Shave Club. So hopefully all of you guys do have your daily grooming routine. Maybe you go the full 9 yards, shower, shave, brush your teeth. I'm sure there's some others that just put on a little bit of cologne and say that's good enough. But what you might have not known is that Dollar Shave Club actually can solve all of these grooming needs. They can help your breath smell a little bit better. They can help your body smell a little bit better. And if all that wasn't enough, they could even help to make your hair look pretty good. Everyone associates Dollar Shave Club with their razors, and those still are solid. But even beyond that, they have a lot of other offerings that you should be interested in. Down below, you're going to be able to find a link to their Daily Essentials Starter Set. For just $5, you can get everything I'm showing you in the background. That including their shave butter, their body wash, their pretty famous now One Wipe Charlie's, and of course their executive razor that has a nice premium and weighty feel, and some razor blades to go along with it. You get additional blades for just a few dollars each month. All in all, this is a genuinely good offer. I've been personally using it for quite a while now, and I would take advantage of this. You can find a link down below, or you could just go to dollarshaveclub.com/JuiceHead. But otherwise, in the realm of Fallout 76 news, there's actually quite a bit to talk about today. If you guys do remember, a week or two ago, I actually talked about in a video very similar to this one how something was going to turn into a controversy, or at least I thought it was going to turn into a controversy. That was that if you actually look at the advertisements for Fallout 76, it says the Power Armor Edition is going to come with a canvas bag. When I made that video, people were just getting their Power Armor Editions, discovering that the bag wasn't canvas. It was more of a nylon and seemingly a much cheaper material. Well, at the time, I was wrong. It didn't really blow up nearly as much as I thought it was going to, up until today. And it seems like what actually acted as the catalyst here that actually took this from something just among the Fallout communities to the more mainstream of gaming is the response that somebody got when they actually inquired about this discrepancy to the Bethesda store support. And to be clear, this is separate. Bethesda has a third-party company that runs the Bethesda store. It's not Bethesda themselves, even though they have a heavy hand in it. It's like a separate entity, at least somewhat though. And basically, that support person did say, "Hello, we are sorry you aren't happy with the bag. The bag shown in the media was a prototype and too expensive to make. We aren't planning on doing anything about it." Obviously not the best or even the most professional response. When I actually first saw this and it started going viral, I kind of thought to myself, it almost seems so bad that I don't believe it's true. Like, it is fairly easy to fake an email, or at least to fake this image, but it turns out it is true, and we actually got two forms of verification, one kind of from Bethesda themselves. This was originally posted on the PC Gaming subreddit, and somebody on that, one of the moderators, actually looked through the DKIM signature on this email. I don't understand what that is. It seems like it's somewhat similar to like the metadata of the email. And more or less what he found was this actually was sent from Bethesda's server, making it seem like, yeah, it actually is kind of confirmed. Basically, there's some personal information in the email, so the original guy didn't want to send it out to everyone, but I guess he felt comfortable sending it out to this moderator who then verified this. But then even beyond that, we actually got a response from Bethesda themselves. That was also on Reddit, but actually on a different post. That original post got cross-posted to some of the various Fallout subreddits. And there they basically say, the Bethesda store support member is a temporary contract employee and not directly employed by Bethesda or Bethesda Game Studios. We apologize to the customers who took the time to reach out. The support response was incorrect and not in accordance with our conduct policy. Unfortunately, due to unavailability of materials, we had to switch to a nylon carrying case in the Fallout 76 Power Armor Edition. We hope this doesn't prevent anyone from enjoying what we feel is one of our best collector's editions. Thanks for tagging us and letting us know. So to some of you, for obvious reasons, people began to immediately take issue with this post. It seems like the main dispute by Bethesda is it wasn't that the bag was too expensive to make, it was that there wasn't an availability of materials. Many people respond to that by saying it's not like canvas is this brand new material, it's fairly widely used and pretty abundant, and many are arguing that it seems a lot more likely that they could get canvas, but they couldn't get it at a rate that would ensure profit margins they were comfortable with, and thus the availability at a certain price point wasn't there. Which is pretty much exactly what was said in that original email, which Bethesda is saying is inaccurate, and you could see how this goes. But even beyond that, the point that really stands out to me as somebody who bought the Power Armor Edition, even if you had to change the material, that's okay. Why didn't you inform the people that bought this? Now personally, whether the bag is canvas or nylon honestly isn't really that big of a deal breaker. I'm sure if the bag wasn't included at all, most people still would have paid $250 for this thing. The point being, it was advertised as one thing and then behind the scenes switched to another thing, while consumers consumers were never made aware of that. It is by definition misleading and pretty much just lying. But well, it actually turns out there's a little bit more. So I filmed all the other parts of this video last night, but then I wake up this morning to find this tweet, basically saying if you are unhappy about the power armor bag situation, don't fret because Bethesda has you covered. They're going to give you a free 500 atoms. When I first saw this, I genuinely had to make sure it wasn't a fake tweet, that it wasn't somebody inspect elementing one of Fallout's actual tweets. But no, it's legit. I don't understand how this conversation went. Who thought this was going to be a good idea? Needless to say, if you read on some of the forums right now, you'll see many people are upset about this, feeling it's almost insulting that Bethesda thinks the $5 compensation is, a good deal or okay. And in all honesty, I don't really view it as a $5 compensation because if you look at the things on the Atomic Shop that you could actually spend these atoms on, you can get like a hat or a different type of hat and a bunch of other things that I don't think are worth $5. Talking about the inflated prices of the Atomic Shop is something I would do in a different video. When I originally made this video, something I was thinking about but didn't really say was I think heads might start rolling at Bethesda as a result of some of these decisions, and I feel like this one actually will lead to that, especially in the community side. That to say that people are going to be fired and replaced as a result of the PR backlash that they are getting across the whole company. Because you have to take into consideration by actions like this one, you get a ton of bad press and the brand is effectively being devalued, which actually carries a lot more weight this time around because the everyday user doesn't know the difference between Bethesda the publisher and Bethesda the developer. So I wouldn't be surprised if come the next Bethesda Softworks release, like let's say a Wolfenstein game, people are going to associate that company with these events. And one thing to keep in mind before you actually claim your 500 atoms, this could prevent you from legal action in the future. Like let's say this ends up turning into a class action lawsuit, there very well could be some kind of clause where if you accepted those 500 atoms, you won't be able to participate in that. And that's total speculation, but it's just something to keep in mind, and it very well could end up being a thing in the future because I really do feel like this is just lying. Like it's misleading, but it's just a lie. But on the topic of power armor editions, to just add my own personal anecdote to this, I actually purchased one of these. I had to do it through legit means. I didn't get like some pass by Bethesda or a free one or anything like that. So I gave them my $200 and then $55 for shipping. And well, lo and behold, I actually only got my Power Armor Edition yesterday. So I paid for this thing months ago. If I was a normal consumer, I would have been waiting 13 days to actually get my code, which is in the box, even though it's a digital code, whatever. Fortunately, I wasn't a normal consumer. I did get a free review code of this game that I could use. And this isn't necessarily Bethesda's fault. It very likely was a problem with the mailing service. And in Bethesda's defense, they actually did make an attempt to resolve some of these issues by giving users that weren't getting their Power Armor Editions codes digitally if they could prove they bought it. But either way, I paid $250 for this thing. I think it's a little bit ridiculous that it came almost 2 weeks after the game came out. I honestly had thought it was stolen. Like I thought it got delivered and was just gone. Outside of that though, one of the things I actually touched on in one of the previous videos was people requesting refunds and how a lawsuit or an investigation for a lawsuit actually popped up around this. Bethesda wasn't and isn't issuing refunds for Fallout 76. One of the criteria they're using is if you downloaded the game, you can't get a refund. Well, following the explosion of that story, and I imagine a lot of users actually requesting refunds, what you find today is seemingly Bethesda has automated a denial system for refunds. I've seen a number of people talk about this where they submit a refund request and actually get auto-denied. This seemingly due to the fact that they had downloaded the game on their account. Outside of that, it definitely seems like users are trying to mount the offensive against this policy. Certain countries actually make it mandatory that if you sell a defective product, you have to give the user a refund. Then of course comes into question what is defined as defective. Is Fallout 76 defective? That is a big debate in and of itself that I'm not going to get into, but it is pretty interesting to see the gaming community and many members of it actually go up against this policy. And then one final thing I do want to touch on that I found personally pretty interesting, Bethesda announced this new kind of weekly series of updates they're going to be giving to the community to kind of bridge the gap between developers and community members. They're calling it Inside the Vault, and I touched on it in the previous episode of this. We didn't have the official name or the official post. I was going off the Reddit post. The post on Reddit and the post on their official website are very similar, the only real difference being the Inside the Vault naming. But also in the post on their website, they actually mentioned that millions of you are playing the game and playing it a lot. A lot of people found that very interesting. Obviously there's so many different ways they could gauge that number, but this in light of a lot of other headlines coming out saying player counts for Fallout 76 are way down. A separate report actually citing that the active users for Fallout 76 right now are just 30% of what it was for for Fallout 4 during the same time frame following its release. I mean, I think for most of us, we can logically kind of reason that, alright, yeah, the game probably isn't doing as well as Fallout 4 just due to the controversy component, but this seems that there are some more explicit numbers out there. Either way, it's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. Obviously, this was a sponsored video, or it had a sponsor shout out in it. I know not everyone loves those, but this is a product and a company that I genuinely like. Like, I use Dollar Shave Club's products pretty much every day, or really every few days, every time I have to shave, and most days when I shower. I buy them personally, and they genuinely are a good deal, and for just $5, I feel like you actually are getting a pretty good deal for your money. But with that being said, before we end things off, I do want to share today's psychology fun fact of the day, and that's actually going to be on the difference between recognition and recall memory. This is one of those things that's going to be valuable for students to know, but just in general, I think it's a useful life tip. So your recognition memory is pretty self-explanatory. It's like when you see something and you realize, oh yeah, I know what that is. Or for example, on a test, multiple choice questions are a test of your recognition memory. You see a question and you have to recognize which answer goes along with it. On the other hand, recall or recall memory is just actually recalling that thing. It's like if on a test you just see the question and it's fill in the blank. You just have to write in whatever you think it is. So just as a rule of thumb, your recognition memory will pretty much always be better than your recall memory. This is largely due to the fact that with recognition memory, you are provided a cue. It's a lot easier for you to distinguish between available options than just think of what that thing is, period. When reading the multiple choice options, one of them might make you remember what you were studying earlier. That is it cueing that memory. In recall, you don't have that cue. The only cue that would be provided is through the question itself. This is pretty important to note because I know a lot of people use flashcards for studying. I do personally. See, flashcards are a recall test, but most times when you actually have to apply that knowledge, you're doing a recognition test. So even if you're not a master or getting 100% on your flashcard testing, you may actually get 100% on your recognition testing or the multiple choice questions. I don't know, I just always found this interesting. I feel like that factoid is just really useful to know in life. It's like when somebody asks you a question and you just have to think of it on the spot, it might be more difficult than if somebody like gave you the choice or is it this or is it that? It'll almost always be easier to pick is it this or is it that. But with that, I thank you all for watching again. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you all